All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. And today we're going to be looking at the iPhone 16e. And here is the phone in all of its glory. So I don't know if my camera's focusing or not. And I have to say, this is an excellent device. Apologies, I'm filming this in my office where I have a laptop and a desktop computer going. I don't know which PC's fans are whirring like that. I didn't pick them up when I was filming and I can't go back. So thank you for bearing with me on this, and let's hop back into the video. This could be an excellent daily driver for somebody, one who's looking to get an upgrade from their current SE2 or SE3. You definitely shouldn't be using an SE1. And also somebody coming from an iPhone mini like this 12 mini, or somebody considering the iPhone Air. So here's what it looks like compared to the iPhone mini. And I'll just state this briefly about this and the mini. The mini's a cool phone, but it was never one of my favorite phones. I always preferred the SE. For whatever reason, I feel like the SE, it just feels like a more premium device. It doesn't feel like it has that much less screen than this phone. This one has like 5.4, and I think the SE is like 4.7. But I just don't feel like you get that much more screen real estate. Although Face ID is very nice, and these cameras do work very well. I think that time has passed the iPhone mini by. This is a cute, excellent design. This feels like a premium device, even though it's just aluminum. Like, the cameras are good. The selfie camera's good. Way better than the SE. Like, it just trounces it all around. Battery life is not great, and people always harp on that. But here's my thing about that. Like, if you're using a ton of battery doing something, you're probably stationary or you're riding in a car. So you can just plug it in and it'll charge up really fast, even on a car charger, even at work. So that's not really a thing for me. But I would say, like I said, time has passed this thing by. I think in times past, like, apps and websites were more configured for smaller screens, and they weren't just made for 6+ inch screens, and now they've gone that way. So we can't go back. And I think this 6.1 inch screen is really a good balance. Even though it doesn't have 120 hertz, it doesn't have an always on display. I just don't think those things are necessary. And I think if you're like a mom or pop or a grandma, or just somebody who's not like super into tech and feels like they have to have the latest and greatest, if you're really sober-minded, I think this is a good phone option. Not only is it a premium phone, it feels good in the hand. The frosted back feels nice. It's not cheap. I keep this one in a clear case that's honestly for an iPhone 13, 14, or 15. So you don't have to get a specific 16e case. I got this at Walmart for like $6. They have a black version if you're concerned about yellowing. These rails don't look as good as the stainless steel or the titanium of the 15 or 16, but like, they don't feel cheap. Like, this phone definitely feels premium. The screen feels nice. And let me see if I can get you a good look at the phone. I guess I'll get into it versus the iPhone Air. One glaring thing is that you're saving $400 with this phone. The iPhone Air starts at $999, and it's like, what are you spending that $400 for? I feel like a lot of people getting the iPhone Air are buying it for aesthetics, and when they get it, they're like, oh, the battery life sucks. Like, the iPhone Air has worse battery than this phone. It has this massive screen, which makes you want to get immersed in content and do stuff, but you can't because it dies fast. And it feels really large and it's really light, but you can't be a power user with it, or it's going to fall apart on you, or you have to get that battery pack. So that's one. Like, what are you paying that $400 for? And I would say for like 80 to 90% of the population, it's not worth it. Honestly, I feel like this phone is the iPhone Air that you should get. This has a 60 hertz display. This has 457 PPI. And for just reference, the iPhone 16 Pro Max has 460. The iPhone Air does have 460 PPI. Also has the ceramic shield. So if you're somebody who wants to run around without having, a screen protector on your phone, the iPhone Air may be for you. But this phone weighs 167 grams. The iPhone Air weighs 165 grams. Now it does have a 6.5-inch screen. This one has a 6.1-inch screen. And then also, you're not going to get that performance out of the iPhone Air. I know it has the A19, but it has the throttle down. It doesn't have the thermal dissipation. You know, it's a pretty tight package, so it's going to get hot. Most of us are not even using our phones to their full potential. Not even close. We're probably using 45% of our phone's potential, unless we're filming in like 4K. You can't even do 8K on an iPhone unless you're doing 4K 120, 4K 60. And in which case, when you upload it to TikTok, Instagram, or whatever your preferred social media network is, it's going to get degraded as it's compressed for their website. You're not even using your half of your phone's potential. So why do you need that much more in the iPhone Air for an extra $400? This phone, and this is a big one, has the same selfie camera as the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And why is this important? I've watched a lot of social media videos, and there's a lot of people who've made very, very substantial amounts of income off of using the selfie camera. They'll use it in their car doing food reviews. They're using it in the car commentating on pop culture. There's one girl, she changes outfits, and I saw her how-to video. She literally sets her phone on the stand and uses a selfie camera because it shows the phone screen as a display for her to see what she's doing. A lot of influencers aren't even using the best camera on the phone. And then one thing I'll say about the upgraded camera on the iPhone Air is this. Whenever you're holding your phone out like this and you're taking a selfie and there's a group of you, when you guys are all looking up, everybody looks like they're looking at the camera by default. So I feel like that's a massive elephant in the room. They're like, if you're holding it like this, you're looking at the camera here. No, most of us are holding the phone out as far as we can, and we take a group selfie, everybody's just looking up, and as long as you're looking at the phone screen, it looks like you're looking at the sensor. So let's just debunk that whole lie. This does have a decent camera. Now, it doesn't have sensor shift or like dual pixel like the newer phones do, but it's decent enough. And again, if you're taking pictures for Instagram, putting filters on our pictures on Instagram, they're getting compressed. You can't tell if it's an Android or an Apple phone on Instagram aside the pipeline that Apple has created in their app with Instagram that makes the pictures look better. But it's really not the cameras that we're seeing the differences from. It's just the way that they're being processed through the various apps that are not optimized for Android. So the 48 megapixel camera, yeah, the sensor's smaller on this one, but again, what are you doing with that? If you text it via RCS, the person's not getting the full version anyway. I'm so happy that we can do group chats and all this stuff with Androids, but the problem is you can't remove and add people, and when you send pictures, they still look like absolute garbage. Ladies and gentlemen, one thing I forgot to mention when comparing the iPhone Air to the 16e is the speakers. The speakers are a deal breaker for the iPhone Air. The iPhone 16e has such great sound and volume that it's like a 12 out of 10 because it shouldn't sound that good for a phone its size. And the monospeaker on the iPhone Air just ruins the experience. And the speakers on the 16e are a pleasant upgrade from those on the iPhone Mini and iPhone SE, which are very good for their size. But again, it is a deal breaker to have a mono speaker on the iPhone Air, and Apple should have really figured that out before they released that phone. And now let's jump into more reasons why you should upgrade from the iPhone SE and the Mini, which, unless you're a part of that small cult that's really dialed in about being present and getting off screen time, you gotta upgrade. People who aren't really guarding against a ton of social media and scrolling and all that stuff. One. But number two is Apple Intelligence. So this does have 8 gigs of RAM, and it does have the A18 processor. So, I mean, on the SE, like, really, it doesn't hold any apps. Like, as soon as you open another app, it's closing the last one you had open. It's getting to a point where 4 gigs is just not enough. And I feel like in today's society, and I mentioned this in the SE video, that their apps aren't being optimized. Even with Apple, they're just getting bloated to where they use a lot more memory, and they're not trying to be as efficient, and they take up more space because they know phone manufacturers are making phones more robust with memory and processing. So they're just being more lax on their end. That's just my take. And so I feel like the 8 gigs of RAM is great. And I think if you're looking towards using Apple Intelligence, which we all probably will down the road when they eventually release new features or the ones that they initially promised. And it's odd that they didn't mention Apple Intelligence at all this year. It was like forced mention in 2024, and now it's like they're kind of like hush hush about it. And I do think they'll release some stuff, but you're better future proof with this phone. And then another thing is a selfie camera. The selfie camera is like night and day difference on this one. Again, this is the same 12 megapixel sensor that you had in the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And so sharing pictures with different church members, family members, or friends where you take a selfie, that's a big deal. When you share those memories, it's a really rich experience. So the selfie camera is, to me, one of the most underrated cameras or things about a phone, especially with video. A lot of us are taking little selfie videos when we're out in public, out in different spaces, and it kind of reflects our views of the world and what we're taking in. So again, it's very important. 7 megapixels is just criminal for Apple to do in 2022. I love Apple, but they really could have done better with that, and they knew it. You can make good amounts of money off of your selfie camera. So definitely don't underestimate that. That's something I didn't point out in my SE3 video because I was trying to like push the no social media discipline thing, and I still believe that. But you know, if you are choosing between a Mini and the SE, I mean, there's something about the SE that I love, but I have to go with this just based off of this front camera. I mean, this front camera is just priceless. I do miss on this phone, not having a landscape. So it is a very close angle when you're taking pictures, especially if you're in a confined space. You're in a room, let's just say you're in a house, or you're looking for apartments and you're taking pictures. You'll notice you have to do a lot more backing up with this camera. So that does make it a challenge if you're really on the go and you're taking a lot of pictures, and photography is a big thing for you, especially landscapes and stuff. You might want to skip this and the iPhone Air because that landscape camera is going to be priceless for you. And here's some side notes that I will say, and I'm kind of jumping around a lot in this video, but hear me, I think I'm throwing out some nuggets. So some of the complaints about this phone are the screen. It only goes up to 1200 nits. The iPhone Pro Maxes of old went 2000, and then the new ones go 3000. To that, I will say this. Most of your doom scrolling, if not all, is in a stationary position in an office, in a bed, on a couch, indoors, where you control the lighting. Watching videos or content, looking at your phone in broad daylight outside in a parking lot is not ideal. And if it's that bright to where you need 3000 nits, you're probably wearing sunglasses, so your viewing situation's not great, or your eyes are kind of being strained and you're trying to get indoors anyway. So that's kind of out the window. To the 120 hertz argument, because this has a 60 hertz panel. If you've always been a 60 hertz person and you never had a 120 hertz, you're not going to miss anything. You're not going to notice a difference because you never had it. And if you have had a 120 hertz for a couple years, like me, it doesn't really make a big difference as an average person. It doesn't. You tell yourself it does, but it really doesn't. Variable refresh rate phones, how often are they running at 120 hertz? And again, I don't feel like you notice it like that. Let's have the action button, which is ultra gimmicky. On the Ultra Watch, okay, it's great. I love pressing the button, getting my workout going. It's just something about clicking that and recording a workout. It feels good, taking care of the temple, getting better. Like when I was setting this phone up, you know, it asked me if I wanted to do the ringer, if I wanted to do the camera, and I thought about doing the camera, but the camera button's right here, and if I can't put my phone on silent very quickly, like if I'm in church, or if I have some kind of meeting, or if I'm in an interview or something like that, it's problematic. So by default, most of us are using it for the ringer on and off, so it really didn't change anything. This doesn't have an always-on display, which, who cares if you're wearing a smartwatch? Why do we need an always-on display? I don't really glance at my phone that much anymore. I feel like back in the day when phones had LED lights that I would glance at my phone a lot, and some of them could have different colors, like red for emails, blue for text messages, and it was cool, it was neat. But I feel like now phones are just so addicting that you pick it up. Like I have a stand in my office, but I just pick my phone up off the stand and I look at it. or when a notification comes in, the screen like flashes and comes on so I can see it. So I'm not missing an always on display. That's crazy. I guess the last point I'll make, and I know I've jumped around a lot, but the ease of repairing this phone is going to be that much better. If you think about it with the new iPhones, especially the unibody frame, like if you drop and seriously crack that thing, do you think Apple's gonna cut and glue it back together? No, you have to get a whole new phone. It's I don't know how that's gonna work, but I feel like the phone would be like a total loss, or they're gonna charge you like $500 or $600 for a whole new unibody.